What's going on, folks? Welcome to episode 5 of the Party Chat podcast for Aussie Geek. This is a podcast all about, well, pretty much all things geek. My name is Michael. I'll be the host once again tonight, and I've performed a bit of a coup and gotten rid of our old host, Nick, but he will be back next year when we pick things up again. Joining me tonight is the Thelma to my Louise, co-founder of Aussie Geek, Darren.
Hello, everybody.
Joining us once again as pretty much no longer a special guest but a regular on the panel is the owner of the Aussie Gamer YouTube channel, Wes.
G'day guys, I'm back.
Speaking of being back, coming back after a triumphant first entry into the podcast, we have Aussie Geek writer Mick.
Hey guys.
And making her debut in the podcasting world, but definitely no stranger to Aussie Geek, is Naomi.
Hi guys, that's me.
Now, it is a bit of a tradition for new panelists to give us a bit of information about themselves. Tell us about what they're into. So, Naomi, if you want to hit us with that.
Sure. Okay, so I'm Naomi. I basically been playing games my entire life, but have really gotten into them from the age of 18. My biggest, I guess, genre that I usually play is indie games. I love them to death. I'm all about supporting the small developers. But otherwise, I'll pretty much just play anything that has a storyline. So, no FIFA or NBA.
Fair enough. Thanks for that. Now, before we get into tonight's cast, we've got a bit of housekeeping to do. Firstly, we're going to draw the winner of our monthly prize for our Patreon fund. Now, basically what happens here is all members who subscribe to our Patreon fund will get their name in a draw, and the winner of tonight's draw will actually get a free game of their choice, so long as we can legally get it. So don't ask for anything that's been refused classification. Thanks. If you donate $10, I think you get actually 2 bites at the cherry, so your name's in there twice. And tonight we're actually going to have Wes drawing the names from Darth Vader's head. So
the force is very strong with this one. All right. So
no way we're going to escape that.
Yeah, you might want to edit that bit out. All right. So
that's not how we roll.
All right. So there were a couple of people, obviously, like you said, with 2 entries, and they have been accounted for. And the winner is David Wizzy.
Yay!
So congratulations, David.
Well done, David.
Darth Vader has ruled you worthy of winning.
That's so appropriate. David, if there is a game that you don't have that, that you want us to get, we'll be in contact very shortly. But if you wanted to get in on that draw, we'll be doing them every month. So just make sure you head on over to our Patreon page and put a donation in. Now tonight's podcast. As
little as $1 too. Just
sorry.
It's only needs to be as little as $1 to be included in that. So
that's an investment. It's an investment in yourself at that point. Now, tonight's podcast we're going to be talking about GOTY, Game of the Year, and we're going to be discussing our nominees for overall Game of the Year. Now, this won't be the actual award. We won't be revealing who our winner is. And the reason for that is simply because, frankly, these games are gigantic, and we want to make sure that we've all had enough time to really sink our teeth into them and make sure we're evaluating the game on the best possible way we can. But before we get into that, we are going to hit some news up. So the first thing we'll talk about is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 trailer featuring Bebop and Rocksteady. Now, Darren, I know you're a fan of the OG cartoon series. What did you think of this trailer?
The trailer for Turtles 2 made me very happy. It looks dumb. It's very Michael Bay, but it just made me very happy.
Does anyone want to elaborate on that?
I think they've got to kind of juggle this tightrope between being a kids' movie but also being gritty enough to be something that, you know, the big fans of the series that grew up on the show really want to come and see. So from what I can tell, the trailer really did that. So, you know, well done. Looking forward to it.
Yep, should be a very... Well, I enjoyed the last one, so I'm hopeful for this one.
Yeah.
I have to be the girl and bring up the eye candy in the movie. Steve Amell. No, Steve Amell's done really well with the Arrow, in my opinion, and he's shown a lot of love for the comic book side of things. So I think he's going to do really well in it as well.
Isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's all over his Facebook page talking about how much he's put into it and everything like that, and how much he's enjoyed it. So, yeah, I think it's going to be good.
Very good. Staying on the topic of trailers, we might move on to the other big superhero trailer of the week, which was the first teaser trailer of X-Men Apocalypse. Mick, did you get a chance to catch this one?
Yeah, I did, and the one thing I do want to point out is Apocalypse is a bit small. Not as big as I thought he'd be. I think it's been cast fairly well, and I think it'll probably translate really well into the film. So I am looking forward to it, and they can't really do too much wrong with these X-Men movies. Even the bad ones weren't that bad, in my opinion, anyway.
You've forgotten X-Men 3, haven't you?
Well, it was a long time ago since I last watched it, but come on, they weren't that bad. There's been a lot worse superhero movies released since then. I won't go into any details on those. So.
Are you forgetting X-Men 3, though? Because that was shit.
Hey, come on. It was better than Fantastic Four.
Anyone else want to chime in on that? Or should we move on?
He's right. Yeah, I enjoyed the trailer. I think it didn't give me the same excitement as when I first saw Star Wars Force Awakens trailer or the Captain America Civil War trailer. I don't know whether it's because we've seen so many of these X-Men movies now that it's more of the same. We know what we're going to get. The last two have been excellent. I can't wait to see this one, but it just didn't seem to excite me as much. I'm not sure why. I'll go see it. I'm sure it'll be great.
Is this one being directed by Bryan Singer? I think it is.
Yeah, it is.
There we go. Sorry, Naomi, you were about to say something?
I was just going to say, I personally haven't seen the trailer myself, but the general consensus I've heard from everyone who has is that it is pretty good. But there are the I guess, truest fans, the purists, that are probably having issues with it, I think. So I guess it depends on what class you are.
First class.
Yeah!
Oh.
I was waiting for that. I was hoping someone would take the bait.
I'll edit that out in post-production. Speaking of a trailer that has divided fans, the Star Trek Beyond trailer has come out, and apparently a lot of fans are not particularly happy with it, claiming that it's basically a generic action film now with a lick of Star Trek paint. Wes, did you have a chance to catch this one?
Yeah, I did. I actually liked it, but I'm not your truest, I guess, traditional Star Trek fan. So for me, the just fast-paced action of the new version of Star Trek is pretty damn appealing. But I can see where they're coming from. It's not your good old Star Trek that I guess that they're used to.
What about you, Mick?
Like I said earlier, I didn't even see the trailer. I didn't even know it was released until about 5 minutes ago, so I quickly watched it before. I mean, it looks good, but you're right, it does look like another generic action movie with a kick-ass soundtrack.
Yes. Okay.
I guess it's the ability to branch out from your core audience and appeal to a greater community of people. So maybe that's the tightrope, as we were saying before, that they've got to juggle. Because at the end of the day, it's all about making money, so they can continue to make more and more of these films. So, I guess they need to balance the heartland with, mums and dads and, teenagers on a Saturday night. Who knows?
Yeah, for me,
I'm staying relevant.
Well, yeah, that's the trick. I used to watch Star Trek as a kid growing up, but I also like watching things explode. So the trailer actually worked quite well for me.
Yeah.
We'll move on. Now, there's a little piece in my little sheet here that says Star Wars, who's seen it, but I'm actually going to ignore that because if you've seen it, I hope you die. And we'll move on to... I'm just bitter that I'm not going to tonight's midnight opening. But anyway, we'll go on to some more gaming news. The first one is that Hideo Kojima has officially left Konami to start his own studio. This has been confirmed, and I think it's going to be a PlayStation exclusive, from what I.
Yes.
So I looked at this a little bit, and apparently the first game is going to be a PlayStation exclusive, and obviously he's done some sort of deal to get established and set up with Sony, and then it sounds like he'll expand and go multi-plat from there. So, from my point of view, even if you're an Xbox fan, this is a good thing. He's a great developer, so I think only good things can come out of this in the long term.
Is this the end of Metal Gear Solid, or do you think someone at Konami can pick up the reins and drive it along? Darren?
I think Konami will give it to somebody in the hope that they can pick it up and drive it along, but I don't know what Metal Gear becomes without Kojima. There's no way Konami lets it sit. It makes them way too much money. It'd be like EA saying, "Oh yeah, we're just not going to make another Battlefield." It's never going to happen. But yeah, Kojima's new. It's still Kojima Productions, so it's his studio that he's sort of pulled out and turned into an independent studio. He's taken a bunch of people that worked underneath him with him to start this new studio as well. And yeah, like we said, the first game's PS4 exclusive. They are still claiming themselves as an independent studio, but I reckon it'll depend on how that first game goes. If it's really successful, I fully expect Sony will will back up the dump truck and try and buy his studio.
Yeah, I think the first game will just automatically be successful, just with the hype around Kojima himself at this point in time.
Yeah.
If we had to predict, what do you reckon? What sort of game do you reckon it would be?
An open world stealth game.
So really branching out and trying something new.
Yeah, it'd be dark and edgy.
And it'll be weird as fuck.
Make no sense at all.
Random sex scenes too. Don't forget those. Yeah.
Well, you've got to have those, and giant flying whales.
He is still a Japanese producer, so.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. So we'll move along, and this was announced, I think, yesterday, which is quite relative to when this podcast is actually put up. But Bayonetta coming to Smash Brothers, the playable character. Did we all see this? Did this excite anyone? Did anyone sort of say, what the hell?
I haven't seen it, but it sure does excite me. Bayonetta is one of my favourite characters ever.
Yeah, I watched the direct. It was earlier today, recording time. This was actually the winner of the public vote thing that they did. Apparently, I'm quite surprised that Bayonetta won a public vote for a Smash Brothers character. Personally, but apparently this is what's got the nod from that voting. It feels more to me like this is a character that they wanted in there to promote the fact that Bayonetta 2's on Wii U, and this is how they've got her in there. But I'm shocked that, because at that time, Cloud was not a character that was confirmed, so I would have thought that somebody like that would have been higher on the list, or getting Snake back from Metal Gear, Bayonetta surprised me.
It'd be interesting to see if they do an amiibo to it as well. I'm sure you.
They are. They are definitely. Every character gets an amiibo. They've already shown what it looks like. And Cloud, and there was another character from the new that new RPG on the 3DS that I can't think of right now. Fire Emblem, the new Fire Emblem. One of the characters from the new Fire Emblem is going to be on it. It is another character. So
I have to say, as someone who loves Bayonetta, I do agree with Barnsey that it is still surprising, considering she's not as well known a character as some of the other candidates. Kind of seems like a poor move. I get the whole marketing thing for the new game, but yeah, it is a bit surprising.
I mean, if it's a People's Choice Award, that's probably not such a terrible move. That's clearly what they're after, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who voted for it when nobody brought the game.
That's the point. I haven't even bought it yet, and I'm actually going to play it.
Yeah, I really want that Bayonetta in Smash Brothers. What game is Bayonetta from?
They all just want the amiibo. It's not about the game.
Yeah. Well, I want the cloud amiibo, so.
I dare say what they did was put up photos of each of the characters, and everyone's just going, "She looks hot.
Yeah.
Let's vote for her."
Boobs.
Very democratic way of doing things.
Yeah.
We'll move along. I'm just going to cover a quick bit of Dota news that came out, so feel free to tune out. I'm looking at you, Darren. But it was just announced today of the recording that the latest update is going to introduce one of the final characters into the game from the original Dota, the Arc Warden. So he'll be coming out, and as well as that, the Zeus Arcane kit has also been released, which looks really cool. He's flying on a cloud, and there's going to be a whole stack of changes that may or may not be on the site by the time this is published, but you can find them easily enough. Anyone feel it all obliged to chip in? I know how keen you are, Darren. Nope, thanks. There's fantastic. We'll move on. I've come to the realization that I'm like one of the only people I know that enjoys that game, so I'm used to that. We'll move on to a more widely accepted game, Call of Duty, and the news that it's getting microtransactions. Wes, you were the one that keyed me into this one. What's it all about?
I love a bit of COD. I think I'm about 4th prestige in the latest one, so I play a bit of it. Look, if you're into your Ken doll sort of dressing up your little character, then you're going to love this one, because I guess the microtransactions that they're introducing are largely for cosmetic things, like gun camos and that sort of stuff. So you can unlock your crypto keys and get your black market gear a little bit quicker. So if you're into really pretty stuff on your COD character, then this is definitely the way to go. It's about, I think, $2 or $3 for a couple of thousand points. I'd be interested to see how the COD community reacts to it. It was always inevitable on the back of Advanced Warfare, so yeah, I think look, if you want little pretty bits for your COD character, this is the way to go.
So it's not pay to win in any sort of.
It's not pay to win. Yeah, look, and you can grind away at achieving the same sort of stuff, but you can pay to accelerate that process. But it's really just all cosmetic.
To be honest with you, it sounds a lot like CS:GO, which means that it'll probably take off pretty easily. Yeah, that's something that is heavily used in CS:GO, and that's where they get all of their money from. So I reckon it'll take off like nothing else. Yeah.
I don't think too many people were surprised to see microtransactions into Call of Duty. I mean, it just seems to be the way most publishers now seem to sort of just sneak something in there to get that little bit extra out of gamers.
Yeah, I'm perfectly okay with it too, as long as it is cosmetic stuff like this. I could not care less if every shooter that comes out from now on has cosmetic microtransactions, because the people who want to buy that sort of stuff can do it. They can have they can be yellow. I don't want to buy cosmetic stuff. I'll run around in my normal camo, and we can still play the same game, and they won't have any advantage. I'm more than happy for them to make money that way.
Yep, I agree.
Speaking of pay to win, we'll move on to the next piece, which is news that Destiny is now allowing you to pay to win your way to level 25. Was it you that told me about this one as well, Wes?
Yeah, look, I gave up on Destiny a long time ago when I realised that the skill level gap between where I was and the majority of the community was just too huge. I guess this is a way to close it down, but I believe it's really expensive. I think it's about $30 to go to level 25, which gets you to that first base level cap. So
that's
it's extreme.
Expensive.
Yeah, it's extreme, and I think if you want to catch up to the majority of the community, you're going to have to go through this process, particularly if you're just starting out, because a lot of the new DLC requires you to be at a certain level cap. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this one goes down.
Mm-hmm. Goodbye sales of the game. Having to pay $60 for a game and then pay $30 to be able to play it properly.
That's right. So
$60 required for DLC.
Yeah, you do get one boost included with, if you buy Taken King, you get one of these little consumables that bump you to 25. So I guess it's only if you want to try and bump additional characters on top of that. So I don't think it's as bad as all that. It's I guess it's just for people who are really hardcore into it and just want to hurry up a couple of extra characters or whatever. Somebody starting off fresh can jump in, try out a couple of the characters, and then pick which one they want to bump up to 25 using their included consumable. But it doesn't really take very long to get to 25 anyway, so the cost of it really baffles me.
Yeah, so that's $30 as well. So the Aussie dollar price will at least be 39.
Plus the Aussie tax.
That's it.
Now, the last piece of news we've got before we move on to our bigger discussion piece is the news that Ark Survival Evolved is now on Xbox One preview. Darren, I think this was you keying me into this?
Yeah, it's been long known that it was coming to the console and it was going to be part of the preview program. It's added today. I've got it downloading right now as we record this, so I can have a look at it.
I'll be back.
Yeah. It's a game that I've been really excited about. I'm not a huge PC gamer. I have tried it out on PC, but I'm not one to sit down at my PC and play anything for a really long period of time, like what a game like that requires. So I'm really happy to see it. Coming to console, the final release will be, I think it's June next year, but yeah, being able to get in and have a bit of a play of it now is good.
What do you think, Mick? You you grabbing this one?
Definitely. I've heard a couple of things about it where if you do buy it now and support the growth of it on the Xbox One, you do get to the full finished version of the game for the price we're paying now, which I think, how much was it, Darren? It's like $30, I think? 45.
45 Australian, yeah. 35 American, I think it was.
Yeah, which is pretty good. I'm actually going to download it right now, just as we speak, so I can also have a crack at it. I did have a quick go at it on PC, but as Darren said, I'm the same. I am not much of a PC gamer due to the fact that my coordination skills using a keyboard and mouse at the same time are not very good. I'd like to think I can play, but I can't.
For those who don't know what this game is, Wes, can you give us a bit of a summary of exactly what Ark is all about?
Well, not really, because I'm one of those ones that really doesn't know a lot about this game, other than I think it's a dinosaur game. Is that right?
I can sum it up for you.
Here we go.
Thank you, lifesaver.
It's basically... okay, so not for PC gamers. Okay, right, so in console terms, it's a Minecraft-esque game. So you're thrown into an open world with nothing, essentially, and you have to create your own survival. Just so happens that you're also fighting not against zombies and that sort of thing. You're fighting against and trying to tame dinosaurs. You can collect them, you can farm them. It's really in-depth, and yeah, it's a really, really good game. And it is, as Mick said, it is one that you do lose your life on. It's definite time sink.
I've got a colleague who I work with who plays it religiously and tells me all about it, and I've got not a fucking clue what he's saying when he's telling me about it. It's one of those games that almost develops its own language, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's one of the only games.
Sorry, Mick, what was that?
It's one of the only games, yeah, where, as Darren said, you can build a base on a living creature, and you have to remember to poop.
Yeah, and you can use your poop as fertilizer too. Don't forget. You can also eat it if you choose to, but I probably wouldn't.
I think I'm going to wait for the reviews.
Far out. All right, I think on that questionable note, we should maybe move on to the topic of tonight's podcast, which is the GOTY nominees. These are the games that we have picked out of all of the games we've played this year as the top 5 games. Now, Nick, who was our previous host before I did away with him, wanted me to mention a couple of games, so when we come to them, I'll read out what Nick's written. I'll do my best to, because he gets quite wordy and gets a bit tricky to say sometimes. But we'll kick things off actually with the first one, which is The Witcher 3. Now, Nick said this about The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 was an open-world triumph, a game of immense beauty that doesn't seem to suffer a drop-off no matter where you go or what you do in the immense world of the continent. The story, which is at its core one about the relationship between a father and a daughter, manages to spin off in a myriad of directions that doesn't detract from its conceit.
Concept, I think he meant.
Yeah, I'll have a chat to our editor-in-chief about that. Geralt isn't a hero, he's a mercenary, and even though he has some friends and family of sorts, what he does for money, with the family a distant second. Despite that, he's a complicated man who struggles with his prescribed fate. The Witcher 3 was a stunning effort from CD Projekt Red, and a clear vindication that holding onto a title and getting it right before shipping it can and should be done more often. All right. I'll go to you first, Mick. What are your thoughts on The Witcher 3? Why do you think that we nominated it for Game of the Year?
Look, I've only played about 20 odd hours of The Witcher 3, but in that 20 hours, I've had a really good time. I mean, the world is stunning. There's so much to do. The frame rate issues that it had at some stages on some consoles, I never got, so I'm not going to go into anything about those. But it's just gorgeous. Like, it looks fantastic, and there's so much to do. It'll keep you going forever. Like, I just didn't want to invest 350 hours of my life into it at this point with so many other games to play. But it is definitely one I'm going to go back to, and because I'm going to go back to it, I dare say everyone else is in the same boat. That's why it is definitely a candidate for Game of the Year. It's just so broad.
You touch on exactly why we're doing just the nominees tonight as well. These games are, I think 3 of the 5 we've picked are massive, and it's just hard to get enough time to sink into all of them while we're playing all these other tremendous games as well. So you really touched on that. Wes, what were your thoughts?
The Witcher 3 for me wasn't just a game with a great story. I think it's a game that has many great stories within it. And there are the layers that you don't recognize that they've actually put into it until you start playing it. Like, they invented their own minigame in Gwent, which has taken the entire world by storm as well. I think that there are even Gwent competitions, there are Gwent mods on PC, so there are so many elements to this game which you don't really expect going into it. It's not your typical game of that genre, so I think that they've really just added so many layers. And coming out of what was essentially, I think, a larger independent studio and producing something of such quality early on in this generation of consoles is a big, pleasant surprise. So, yeah, look, it's got so many layers that have really just surprised me all along the way. So it's definitely a major contender.
Naomi, what were your thoughts on The Witcher?
I kind of agree with both Mick and Wes. Basically, it is a stunning game. One of the things I love the most about it is how each character has so much depth, but you can change their story as you go based on how you play and all of that sort of thing. Like, it's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just so huge. The game itself is enormous, every aspect of it, and as Wes said, to be able to create something like that so early on in a console's life, it's awesome, and it makes me really hopeful for what we can see in the future of these consoles as well. As a mostly PC gamer, like The Witcher 3, I played it on PS4. Even though I'm a PC gamer, it was incredible, absolutely incredible.
Darren, how? I know you didn't sink hundreds of hours into The Witcher 3, but what did you think of the time that you did play in it?
Yeah, I've put about 30 hours into it, so I feel that I have put a fair chunk of time into it, while I'm not a hell of a long way through,
30
through the
hours
story of it.
Doing the intro still.
Yeah, I've done the tutorial. The thing that stands out to me the most about this game is how living the open world is. It is by far the most dense open world game that I've played, as far as there's just people going around doing their thing. And there's just so much to do. It's still quite astounding. I was actually playing it again just the other night to get back into it again, to try and get a few more tens of hours into it before we do our final voting. It's just incredible how alive the open world is.
Yeah, I think we've touched on probably the thing that stood out to me the most, and that was the I guess the depth of side quests of all things. I think the side quests in this game were more interesting than a lot of the main stories in other games I've played. I mean, how often do you participate in in getting rid of a king as a side quest? That's a major story arc. It was really enjoyable, and it was actually, when I was playing it, I found it to the point it was almost confusing what the actual main quest was and what was just something I was supposed to be doing as a little bit of extra coin. And yeah, Gwent, the other one, holy hell! I've played other RPGs like New Vegas, for example, which has its own little custom card game in, but I've actively sought out more Gwent players throughout the entire length of the game, and I've gone all the way through and finished, I think, about 200 hours worth, and I was still looking for Gwent players after it. So, yeah, just a really, really solid little game. Little.
I do have one major complaint about the game, and that's it. It's not very generous with gamer score. So you can play 100 hours of this game and get nothing. So,
which luckily is something that does not come into consideration whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
10 out of 10. No, game score is tough. 3.
Yes.
So that's kind of our thoughts on why we all thought The Witcher 3 deserved a nomination of Game of the Year. The next one we'll go and take a look at is Kojima's swan song from Konami. This is Metal Gear Solid 5. Now, Mick, you reviewed it for us. You didn't think it was too bad.
I thought it was fantastic. Every little detail of that game was just superb. From the soundtrack to the effects that they used in the landscape, from the sand all the way up. It was just, everything was perfect. The whole time I played good 25, 30 hours before I actually wrote a review, and I didn't get a single fault. The base building seems thrown in there, but aside from that, the game is very, very good. Looks fantastic, plays fantastic. There's so many side missions. I think there's a couple of hundred side missions you can do, and the replayability of the side missions is ridiculous because you have to get the max rank on each one.
What about you, Ez? Did you get all the way through Metal Gear Solid?
Yeah, no, not all the way through. So I'm about 80% of the way through, to the point where you have to start repeating missions on what seems to be almost impossible level difficulty. I love the game through until that point. I think, to your point, Mick, the amount of side quests, the depth of missions, the stealthiness of the character, and even seeing Kojima's name mentioned every 5 minutes isn't a bad thing. So it is, I think, definitely another game that's worthy of Game of the Year.
Darren, what were your thoughts on Metal Gear Solid?
On just touching on that, I think when Konami decided to pull his name off the front box of the game, he decided to shove it in every single loading screen.
Yes.
Just to remind people that it was him that did it. The thing that stands out the most for me was the freedom of that they give you to do the missions how you see fit. I really enjoyed basically just being dropped and say, okay, so go and find this guy. It's like, well, where is he? You have to work that out yourself. I did really enjoy that part of it. I felt that at times it felt like you were retreading the same ground a fair bit, but I just couldn't get past the freedom that it gives you as far as letting you do things how you want to do it. And if you want to blow everything up, go right ahead. You want to try and sneak in without being seen, that's fine too. I thought it was great.
What about you, Naomi?
Well, I didn't get to play a great deal of the game, but as a stealth game veteran, I would say that Metal Gear just is perfect. Like, Mick wouldn't shut up about it while he was playing it. But no, I think again, as I said, I'm a big fan of the stories and the ability for the writers' role in making a game to really come out. And I think that the best part of a Metal Gear Solid game, other than the gameplay, would be just the depth of the story, the depth of the characters. There's definitely no shallow two-dimensional characters in a Metal Gear game. And that's one of my favorite things about Kojima, is he never does anything like that. Otherwise, yeah, again, as Barnsey said, just basically being thrown in the deep end. It's almost as though it's like a real-life like an actual simulation of being a spy kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like you have to figure it out for yourself. There's no handouts. Good. I like it.
Speaking of no shallow two-dimensional characters, how good was Quiet? Or should I not mention that?
I was going to say, I'm guessing you got the good story, right?
Yes.
One of the things that stuck out to me is, first of all, the story. I hadn't played a history of Metal Gear Solid games at all. The last one I played, I think, was the one with Raiden. I think it was 2. And it kind of throws you in the deep end a bit with a whole lot of crazy shit going on. It's bonkers. And that actually, when I first played it, put me off a bit. I'm not going to lie, but once you get past that and you actually start, it starts expanding on the story and you start finding out about these characters and just what the hell is happening, is actually really rewarding. But the biggest thing for me was just the incredible sandbox of just, going in and whatever you need to do your mission, you just do. And the number of times I'd go in, I'd spend a good hour scouting out the people and trying to find the best way in, get halfway in, spotted by a guard I didn't see, and just hell breaks loose. I just found it tremendously fun.
There's also no question that the soundtrack in this game is phenomenal. I think it's definitely got one of the best sounding audio accompaniments to a game that's definitely been released this year. So yeah, it definitely deserved the award that it received at the Game Awards for that.
Yeah, it was a pretty killer soundtrack. I like how you have to build it yourself too. I think that's clever. So we'll move on now to the other big RPG of the year, which is Fallout 4. Nick had some words he wanted me to share about this one. He said that Fallout 4 took the concept of open world titles and turned it all the way up to 11, delivering a title that allows you to be and do nearly anything you want in the benighted remains of the alternative reality America, 200 years after its annihilation at the hands of nuclear weapons. Although it has a narrative arc, the majority of your time spent wandering the remains of post-apocalyptic Massachusetts won't involve your vault dweller searching for his kidnapped son. And they aren't even the big bad in Fallout. The biggest and toughest enemies you'll face in the world itself are setting as inhospitable as you encounter in any gaming. I think that he's missed a spot there. When things with guns and claws aren't after you hide, the rad-soaked settings and its damned inhabitants will be presenting a challenge that's even more demanding and difficult to overcome than any faction. With a dash of world-building, solid first-person mechanics, a gargantuan world full of mystery, and a leveling system that should be the envy of any decent RPG, Fallout 4 was a clear standout in 2015. Mick, Fallout 4, tell us about it. Tell us about your exploits. Tell us about how long you spent building bases.
Okay, so I didn't really have an idea of the base building when I first started, so I probably spent the first 8 to 10 hours of the game fortifying Sanctuary Hills, and it never got attacked once. So, so it turns out that was a massive waste of resources. But I mean, outside of that, I've pretty much explored every inch of the map. All the way through the irradiated zone out in the glowing sea, finding random things like a pyramid that is the home of a massive nuke warehouse, to a random shack with a cellar that you go into that's filled to the brim with synths and technology, and then an XO1 power suit, and it's just under this tiny little wooden shack in the middle of nowhere in the glowing sea. So if you're playing it, get out there and look for it. It's awesome. But I went as far as I could with every single faction before having to make a choice as to how to finish the game. And to me, I think that was the best way to play it. Do as many side quests, do as many of the main quests that I could to really find out who I wanted to go with. I'm not going to say who I went with. But I am going to play it a few more times because I do want to finish it with all 4 factions. But I'm happy with the decision I made first time through, and it wasn't an easy decision. It's weird. You become invested in the story. I don't know whether it's more because when you're a parent, you sort of get the feels for trying to find your son. But the story itself was very, very short. You could probably finish the main story quest in 20 hours, which is, going by everything I've been told, shorter than one of the other games that we're going to talk about in this list. So definitely invest your time into those side quests. They are a lot of fun, and there's some real quirky shit going on in post-apocalyptic Boston. It's very different, and you'd be surprised what you find. And I loved all the little teddy bear cameos, like teddy bear on a toilet reading a newspaper, or some teddy bears sitting on a seat, or just random things like that. But they're everywhere in the game. You just need to keep an eye out for them.
I remember seeing footage of one point, though. You know the monkeys with the lights in their eyes that are like alarms? And the video I saw is that someone's gone into a dark room, and there's like hundreds of these things, and they all just turn their heads up and eyes light up at the same time. It looked creepy as hell. But anyway,
the first time I seen it, it scared the shit out of me. I thought it was the monkey bomb from Call of Duty and going to blow my ass up, but turns out they're just alarms. Yeah.
Darren, what were your thoughts on Fallout?
Yeah, I loved just the weirdness of it. Just the more so than doing the quests. While they're awesome, I just love just traveling around and just finding random things. Like Mick said, there's some awesome things that most people will never even find if they're just traveling along and finishing the story. And that's probably my favourite thing about it. I really enjoyed the base building. It took a little while to get used to it, I guess, but I quite enjoyed it. Ended up building a nice house and collecting pool balls, and had a little shed with all my power armor in it. I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Naomi, what were your thoughts on Fallout?
Yeah, so the construction part was great. I spent almost 10 hours just on that. I got to Sanctuary and didn't finish the quest to get to Sanctuary, but as soon as I got there, I saw all the building stuff and started using it. And a few hours later, I went over to the quest giver and realized that everything I had just done was a quest I hadn't gotten yet. But I think it's really easy to lose yourself in that sort of thing, but I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think as well that the atmosphere that they've created is really, really, really good. Like, I guess with all of the post-apocalyptic stuff that's in pop culture at the moment, the best stuff always shows how hard it is to trust humanity afterwards, I guess. And I think right from the start, I found it really difficult to trust any NPC that I came across. Like even the Minutemen and that sort of thing. The moment I met them, I was watching them constantly and second-guessing everything they told me. And it's good to have the game affect you in that way. I guess, because not a lot of them do that nowadays. But yeah, no, I love the environment and I love building stuff.
Now, Wes, you haven't had a chance yet to play this game.
No. I want to know, is there a right way to play this game? Because obviously it sounds like you can rush through and do the main mission in 20 hours-ish, but that doesn't sound like the right way to play. So put me on the straight and narrow here.
Walk out into the wasteland and see what happens.
Right.
It's kind of like asking if there's a quick way to finish an RPG game. Like it's not. It depends on what class you are and everything. It's all about the decisions you make.
Yep. So look, I actually bought the game day one, but out of fear that it would absolutely consume my life, I actually had this feeling it would take me 25 to 30 minutes just to set up a character.
It took me an hour.
Took you an hour, there you go.
Yeah.
It took me 2 minutes because I went with the first one that was presented.
Oh, that's boring.
I play it in first-person mode. I don't see his face.
Nah. It's still fun.
So that is my game for Christmas break, without doubt. So I will have it consume my life deliberately, but I want to be able to dedicate serious, continuous time to it. So that's the plan with Fallout 4.
Yeah, one of the things that I think for me stuck out about Fallout 4 was just that ability to explore. A number of times you'll be given a quest and you've got to go over to wherever, and you'll just head off and along the way you'll see a building and you'll think, oh, I'll go and explore that. What's in there? And then you'll come out and then there'll be something else that you'll see, and you'll end up losing 5-10 hours just wandering to try to get to this point. And by the time you get there, you've got to head all the way back because your backpack and your companion are both loaded up. And again, I think Mick touched on this as well, is the ability that Bethesda have to create stories that aren't stories. They're sort of snapshot imagery almost. I think like someone dead in a bathtub, or a couple holding hands and you just find their skeletons. They paint a really interesting picture. The other cool thing I found about it that I wasn't expecting is storms when they roll through. I assume that if you've played it, you've seen them. They're surprisingly beautiful, yet
Shit gets scary.
Yeah, I remember the first one came out and I wandered out like, ooh, this is pretty, and then realised I was getting absolutely radiated to hell. I found that they, compared to Fallout 3, they ratcheted up that whole nuclear radiation thing to the nth degree, and it worked really well. I'm constantly consuming Radaway or Rad-X just to dive into the water to find out what's at the bottom of a pond. And it comes back to that sense of exploration.
Can I just add one, actually, just a small complaint? I found myself lost. Oh, okay. I had some issues where I was trying to do something, just anything, and I wouldn't have been given a tutorial on how to do it. There was some cases where the game didn't offer any advice on how to do things, and I'm actually new to the Fallout franchise as well, so I was completely lost. Like, I actually had my partner come in while I was playing and tell me that I had completely overlooked one particular thing, and I'm like, I don't know, the game didn't tell me. So I guess just in some parts, but that may have been because I was skipping ahead, I don't know. But yeah, I think in some parts it could have been a little bit more instructive, I guess. Yeah.
I will actually agree with that a little bit. Like, at the start of the game, they really do need to hold your hand for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Especially with the base building stuff.
Yeah, that was actually what I had the issue with, yeah.
That's actually, this is the first game that's had that base building stuff, so you don't carry that information from any of the other games. So, but, I mean, yeah, they could have done that. That being said, kind of like Minecraft, when Minecraft first dropped on the PC, there was nothing. You had to work it all out yourself. I don't think it's necessarily a terrible thing, and it doesn't take long to get things cranked up. But on top of that, when you discover things when you're doing that, like, I think that gives you a bit, or for me anyway, it gives me a bit more of a buzz. I've worked out how to hook up lights. It sounds a bit mundane, but you get that little sense of, so that's how you do it, and then you go and tell your mates how to do it. It's kind of almost creates those water cooler moments.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, so we will go on to the fourth nominee. This is Dying Light, the first-person zombie parkour shooter, I guess. Darren, I know that you played a fair amount of this game. I think this is one of the few games of the year that you've completed. What were your thoughts on Dying Light?
I really enjoyed Dying Light. It was probably, of this list, it was the game that surprised me the most, as far as I really didn't expect something that good to come out of Techland. I did enjoy Dead Island, but it had plenty of problems. Jumping from that basically into this, while it's a similar sort of game, the combat was much improved over what they'd done previously. The parkour stuff in the game was awesome. I think to a point where I think it was better than Mirror's Edge, which was based around that being the main hook of that game. And 4-player co-op was brilliant. I played the whole game through in co-op, had an absolute blast, and I actually can't wait for the DLC to come out early next year to get back into it again and give it another run.
What about you, Mick? We were discussing this earlier, and you were definitely a fan of the game. What was it about Dead Island that stuck out to you?
I've always liked all the zombie games, anything in that genre itself, the zombie genre, I sort of gravitate towards, whether they're good or bad. But it really surprised me. Like, as Darren said, I didn't expect to see something so good come out of Techland. It looks really good for the type of game it is. It plays fantastic. The flow of the parkour, I thought it was going to be clunky and a bit jagged, I guess, and it wasn't. And the co-op, like I played through pretty much the whole game with Darren, and having a game that you can play from start to finish, every mission bar one, pretty much in co-op is brilliant in my opinion. They need more games like that, and it gives that replayability, which I think any game that is worthy of Game of the Year needs to have.
Yeah, what about you, Wes? Did you get a chance to dig your teeth into this, as it were?
I did, and what I loved about this game is that for 90% of the time I always felt like I was underpowered and at risk of dying, and I always felt like the game was just always scaring the crap out of me. And to have that kind of sense of like fear of always what's around the next corner, that was pretty unique. So I don't think any of the other games were quite at that level of intensity on occasion. So it's one of those games that just kind of kept surprising you from a fear and intensity point of view. So from that point of view, I liked it.
Now, Naomi revealed to us prior to recording this that she is a very much of a fraidy cat, and
you put it in nicer words than I did.
I tried because I didn't want to have to go through and bleep it. But
yeah.
Do you think this is a game that you're going to have a crack at, based on what's been said?
If we ever do a humor channel playlist, maybe where people want to laugh at someone screaming and crying, then maybe. Look, basically all that Wes said is the reason why I've avoided it. I've seen how good it is and the efficiency with which they've created the environment. Like the fact that, usually in games, nighttime means safety, but in this one, it means you are even more in danger. And just the fact that anything you can do, they can do, and that sort of thing, like it's scary. It is definitely on my to playlist. I just have to work up the courage.
I found talking about the night cycle, I found that was one of the things that I thought was really clever, the way it was handled. The fact that nighttime, as you said, is dangerous. The zombies get supercharged and they come after you with a passion. But at the same time, you get more rewards for being out there. So maybe not right at the start, sort of midway through the game, you really start doing is it worth this run to go and do this mission where I'm going to get a stack more XP, but I'm probably going to get my ass kicked. I really enjoyed that. I think it added a really interesting dimension. As you guys mentioned, Techland's first entry of was it Dead Island was the first one. Not exactly the smoothest game. Definitely known for its issues, but Dying Light, just fantastic, slick as shit through a goose, as it were. The open world surprised me. I really enjoyed getting around, exploring it, and the parkour just made that so much fun. I loved the parkour, just running around, did all of the challenges I could. And counter to what Darren and Mick both said, I played this game solo without anyone else at all, and I still had a blast playing it. So I guess it shows that the co-op doesn't detract from the original story in any way, shape, or form, but you don't need to play it co-op, which is a really good compromise, I think.
Can I add something to the comparison, actually, between Dead Island and Dying Light? I think that, I guess, the best way to look at it is Dead Island is more of the hack and slash time waster kind of game, whereas people who want a real, I say real, but you guys know what I mean, real zombie game that offers real challenge and actual entertainment, I guess. I think Dying Light's for those people. I guess it's like saying the people who buy Call of Duty to play zombies versus the people who buy Call of Duty to play campaign, kind of thing. So I think Dying Light did really well in that regard. It's not a boring game at any point, I guess. Yeah.
I think that's a good point, Naomi. Like, it does differentiate itself from other zombie games. Like, it's not a Dead Rising game, for example. it is a more serious take on the zombie genre, and I think that's also a good point of differentiation for it.
All right, so this brings us, I guess, to our last nominee for Game of the Year, and that is Rise of the Tomb Raider, the Xbox One exclusive follow-up to the reboot from, 2 years ago now. Naomi, you reviewed it for us on Aussie Geek. Tell us, recap your thoughts on this one.
Well, in hindsight, I actually loved it more than I mentioned in the review. I guess I've always loved Lara Croft and the Tomb Raider games. My favourite parts were always the puzzle parts, and I guess in the first installment of the new Tomb Raider series, I was pretty disappointed in the fact, along with all the other fans, in the fact that there were very few tombs to find, and the puzzles were not as complex. They sort of were, I guess you could say, pandering to an extent. But this game is so much better. Some of the tombs were almost impossible. There's one tomb that I couldn't finish, and to this day I still haven't finished. And it's just you still have to think, and I beyond that, just the story. I love that they're actually giving Lara a story now instead of just a herbaceous adventurer jumping up walls kind of situation. I think, I don't know, I just think it appeals more to gamers in this generation because we're seeing a lot of really deep stories and games that have got the opportunity to spend hours and hours just enjoying the environment in all its aspects. And I think that Tomb Raider does that really well. Just the fact when you walk into a tomb, first thing you see is how beautiful it is. Like there's one you walk into and it's an ice cave and there's a ship that's like thousands of years old stuck in the ice. And it's just the most beautiful thing ever. And then as you walk up to it, Lara goes on to tell a story about it and that sort of thing. It's just there's so many aspects to keep you in. And it's just a beautiful game. And the best part about it is that when you finish, it's just you go back into it and you have complete freedom. I actually thought after the credits ran, there was more to the game. But it really is the game says, okay, you've saved everyone, now go have fun. And it's really great, and you still get side quests and all of that sort of thing. So I loved this game. I loved it. It was great. It was a privilege to be able to play it, let alone review it.
Wes, what were your thoughts on Tomb Raider?
Yeah, look, I completely echo Naomi's words. The game itself is stunningly beautiful. You do find yourself at times just stopping to admire the beautiful artwork that Square Enix have put into this game. It is phenomenally beautiful. So that's the first element. The second element for me was Lara Croft now is just so believable as a character. Like you do have a connection to that character more than any Lara Croft that we've ever seen in the past. So from a story mode, from a character emotive point of view, it sucks you in and holds you the whole way through. So I find that even the tombs aren't distracting. I think they're probably a fresh kind of break from the main story, and then you do your tomb, you get back into the story. So I think there's so many little elements. Even the gunplay is not over the top. There's stealth modes, which are I think the best way to play the game, where you're not just running and gunning. I think it's just one of those games that I felt for me blew my expectations away, and I think from my point of view, I know we're not calling Game of the Year, but it definitely has to be one of those ones that's on the list, and I was just in awe of this beautiful game.
Darren, what were your thoughts on Tomb Raider?
Well, again, Tomb Raider being one of the few games that I actually finished this year, obviously held my attention.
That one, isn't it?
Held my attention more than most. I enjoyed every moment of it. With both this and Fallout coming out on the same day, I was really worried about getting too lost in Fallout and then not being able to get enough out of Tomb Raider, but that didn't happen. I put my time into Fallout, and when I thought, oh, I'll go and have a look at Tomb Raider now because I mean it's sitting there on my shelf, and I didn't stop playing Tomb Raider until it was done before I went back to playing Fallout again. So I think they improved on the remake in every way. I think the story's better. I think that the tombs, which I thought in the remake were basically an afterthought, like they made the game and then thought, wait, shit, this game's called Tomb Raider. We don't have any tombs. In this, they were a lot better thought out. So when you, like Naomi was saying, you walk in and you look around at it and you have to try and really think, okay, so now how is this puzzle going to unfold? I really enjoyed it, and I made sure I sought all of those out as I was going through and did those as I was progressing through the story. And Camilla Luddington, I'm so invested in her take on Lara Croft now that if they do a reboot movie now, I want her to play Lara Croft in the movie, or it won't feel right.
Yeah. Hopefully she looks like her.
She does. She looks plenty like her. Yeah.
Did they use her as a character model?
She mocapped it. Yeah, she looks close enough. Like, I don't know whether it's necessarily modelled on her. But she could definitely play the part in a movie. Yeah.
Awesome. Mick, what were your thoughts on Tomb Raider?
Due to Fallout, I only actually started playing it last night. But in the hour or so I put into it last night, everything that you guys have said, it's beautiful. It is one of the best games that I've seen ever. Visually is completely stunning, and I thought Metal Gear Solid was visually amazing. There's other games out there like Battlefront, which are completely gorgeous, and this is definitely one of those games. And the story in the first hour has sucked me in, and I can't wait to keep playing it. I don't think I'll play anything else until I finish it.
Yeah, fair enough. For me, so if you asked me to pick my top 5 games of all time, Uncharted would usually be in that list. And for me, Rise of the Tomb Raider would topple any Uncharted game that I've played. It's exciting, it's action-packed, it throws so much at you, and then just at the right time gives you enough pause just to catch your breath, wander around, sort of gather yourself, and then throws you into some more action sequences. It's just, timing is perfect. There's so much to do, and the simple fact that the world snakes in on itself, and you'll parasail or you'll shoot down the side of a cliff on a zip line, and you're in an area that you started at ages ago, but then it all opens up again because you've got new things. I think it all just works perfectly. I've found myself steering away from the guns altogether and trying to peg everyone with a bow, which you can do. You can go in with the guns blazing. It gives you that really good amount of choice. And the crafting system surprised me.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, the making, especially with arrows, because that's pretty much all I try and use, just the ability to craft them on the fly and use them in really effective manners. You've got a whole range of choices to make when you want to blow the living shit out of someone. So, the story really exciting. Good, as you mentioned, it gives that really humane side of Lara. Makes her a three-dimensional character, and it's almost an indictment of gaming in general that a three-dimensional character comes out and it's so exceptional and it stands out so much. But yeah, Tomb Raider nails it.
And Uncharted fans, please send complaints to Michael at AussieGeek.com.au.
I love Uncharted. I love Uncharted. In fact, was it 1 or 2 podcasts ago, I said, if you haven't played Uncharted Collection on PS4, go and play it. But Tomb Raider does what Uncharted does better than Uncharted.
It was touted as the battle for this time of year until Uncharted got delayed. So yeah. It's a shame. They're both going to be awesome.
Having played some of the beta for Uncharted, I predict that it won't meet the standards of Rise of the Tomb Raider. But hey, that was beta. Who knows?
That was multiplayer though. No one cares about that.
Actually, no, it wasn't. I played single player.
Oh.
Actually, that's one of the things about Tomb Raider is that I've never felt that it needed multiplayer. Like, I didn't feel that I was missing multiplayer out of this game.
Yeah. We do need more games that don't have that aspect, that are just about the story. So it's good that Tomb Raider does that. In regards to the crafting on the fly, I just wanted to add, how much value it adds to battle scenes. Because it's not just on the fly. It's while you're running away from gunfire. It's while you're hiding behind cover. And then the fact that you can upgrade it so that you do it quicker and that you can make more. I think that it is a huge asset in the game. Like it's something that I've never really experienced before in a game, and I loved it. I thought it was great.
It feels like smart combat.
Yeah.
And that sort of steps it up from just the Call of Duty run and gun style of gameplay.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, Darren.
Now all we need is more people to buy it. So go out and buy the thing.
Yeah.
Do it!
If you've got an Xbox, I'm mirroring my comments about Uncharted, but if you've got an Xbox One and you haven't played Rise of the Tomb Raider, you're being a fool. Go and grab it. Go and play it. It's effing awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I guess this brings us to the end of not just tonight's show, but we'll draw the curtains on the year for the podcast. We will be back early next year with the revolving cast of characters. We'll also be doing our official GOTY awards, where we'll go through not just the 5 we mentioned now, but a whole host of other categories, so look forward to that. But for the interim, I think we're all going to crawl back into our caves. We're going to dispense with the family for the holiday period and try and avoid them as much as possible while we try and really sink our teeth into what is left of a pretty big year of gaming, it turns out. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me tonight. Wes, Darren, Mick, and Naomi. Thanks for being part of the final episode for the year. And I'd like to also remind everyone that you can check out what we're doing on our Facebook page and on Twitter, but also on the Aussie Geek website. And as we mentioned at the start of the podcast, the Patreon fund, if you want to get in on some free game action, you got to be in it to win it, as they would say. So from all of us at Aussie Geek, I'd like to say thank you for tuning in and joining us, and we'll see you next year.